My talk will be about these two lesbian groups that Bronwyn has just introduced. In a way, it's even three groups. I'll tell you more about that. I first talk a bit about lesbian resistance, and then about the WDI Australia New Zealand Lesbian Caucus. We formed Lesbian Resistance in 2022 to fight gender identity ideology, gender identity. I always say that in inverted commas. And also to be visible as working class lesbians, because listening to the voices of working class women can only be to all our advantage, methinks. We don't want to stay in an echo chamber, but we want to learn from each other. That's what I think. And bounce off ideas, which I find important. In the understanding of this ideology-driven movement, the working classes have been almost entirely ignored, probably because the woke are mostly the young, the white, the privileged, and they are, of course, whipped up and funded by older men. Most working class people are not activists. They're probably too busy making a living. And maybe they are not yet sucked into the cult after all the ideologues were bred in universities. We wanted a lesbian group that fights for the rights of women and girls without any compromise, because no man can ever be any kind of woman. And we definitely never use preferred pronouns, and under no circumstances. Lesbian resistance practically exploded into action, street action, when Kelly J. Keane and the other women at Albert Park in Auckland in March were so viciously attacked. We were so angry about that calculated, violent attack. First of all, members of the Green Party had applied to Immigration New Zealand to prevent her from coming into the country in the first place. And then that character assassination, basically, that is actually still ongoing. All this was instigated and egged on by the government and spread by the government-funded mainstream media, who still lie. They falsified facts and even images. You might remember those images. We totally lost faith in the police that day. We were supposed to be there, but they were obviously ordered not to protect women. All this gave this vicious mob permission to attack. We were really, really angry, not just because it robbed us of the opportunity to talk in Wellington the next day. So we were really angry, but rather than focusing on our anger, we decided to turn that energy into positive action. We advocate in our local town, which is a rural town. It's small. We do that because it's easier. It's not too far to drive for us. Petrol is really expensive. Also because rural people don't like to be lectured by out-of-towners. So we lecture them. No, it's just kidding. But that is also because rural people are sort of farming people, and they speak our language, we speak their language. We, rather than approaching them, we let people come up to us. They usually ask about our placards. We got loads of them, you know, the usual, no child is born in the wrong body, get the rainbow out of schools and school boards. And lately we take the repeal sex self-ID. We take that often because we go every week, every Friday. like the women, the awesome women in Ballarat. Anyway, the repeal sex self-ID is very timely, pertinent, because the sex self-ID in New Zealand has been introduced into law last year, but it has been passed into law only last week, on the 15th. Overwhelmingly, we get really positive responses. Sadly and quite tellingly, it is many people, especially women, are too afraid to show their faces in our videos. So we try our best to record their dissent as best we can. We give them pamphlets and small info cards. Here's one with websites. These small cards, as a little aside, are taken more willingly than the bigger sheets of paper, than pamphlets and stuff, because they can just tuck it away quickly. At the moment, it is really lovely in our little town, because in the middle of the so-called pride, nothing to be proud about there, of this Pride Month, Fielding, that's our little town, is absolutely free of the degenerate rainbow flag or any other rainbow virtue signaling. There's just nothing of it. There's just us. For us, it was really important to have the word lesbian in our name. It's not just because we like to say lesbian, lesbian, lesbian. It's because lesbians, our lesbian bodies, we do like saying lesbian, lesbian, lesbian. We are the last bastion of single-sex spaces. As lesbians, we are the embodiment of a single-sex space. That's why we are in such danger, but that's also why we are so dangerous. The ideology, or rather the ideologues, they are hell-bent to erase not only women as a sex class, but especially lesbians can't be tolerated. The latest attempt, Susan has mentioned it, I think, before, to erase us was calling us non-men attracted to other non-men, which I want to laugh about it, but it's an absolute outrage, really. Lesbian Resistance, of course, is also passionate about free speech. Doesn't matter whether it's in writing or on social media, or especially in the public square in our little rallies. We absolutely need to voice our opinions publicly. One of the reasons, and that is a deeper reason for this, is that some of us have lived through a time when we had to hide and we couldn't say the dirty L word. We lived more or less secretly. Those of us who were more out made a huge effort to make all those heterosexual people around us more comfortable by calling ourselves gay, which is somehow considered more polite. I think it's a little bit like sex and gender here. To be able to live freely and openly as lesbians, we absolutely need a healthy, democratic, free society with free speech. We cannot do this on our own. And that's all about Lesbian Resistance New Zealand. And now I'll say a brief spiel about the WDI Australia New Zealand Lesbian Caucus, which came about almost by accident. I'm very often in awe of some of the women I see on YouTube, the likes of Sheila Jeffries, Julia Long, Julie Bindel, who have been talking about this for years and years. I personally think Kelly J. Keane is a Wonder Woman. They sometimes state basic facts in a way that blows my mind. Like Kara Dunsky did the other day. She was on some television show recently, and she said in the most matter-of-fact way, the very thing that many others are just sort of dancing around and usually avoiding altogether. And I have to quote that. She said, "There is no such thing as trans, and it's okay to say that. It's a lie, it's a fabricated lie. Every single human being on the face of the planet is either female or male, and there's no other category of people." The simplicity of it. So I asked her, can I put this video, a snippet, on our website? And she came back and said, yeah, of course you can. And she also said she'd passed on our email to Lauren Levy, who, together with other lesbians, of course, had just formed the Lesbian Caucus of the WDI USA. Lauren, she wrote us a lovely email and suggested a meeting, which we had, and we enjoyed very much. And during that talk, Lauren came up with the idea that New Zealand could also form a lesbian caucus and we could all work together. And we thought that was really a great idea. And so we just ran with it. We did it. The WDI Australia and New Zealand are working together on many levels, at least it looks like that. So it made sense for us to set the lesbian caucuses up so that they also have this close cooperation. So just a few weeks ago, we officially formed the WDI Australia New Zealand Lesbian Caucus. However, the Australian part of it is still very much a work in progress. Actually, all of it is very much in the make. For now, we're looking at how to develop a structure for ourselves, and we're pondering some projects to work on. We've got some ideas. We already have a website, which is very conveniently hosted on the Lesbian Resistance website. You might want to go and have a look. We also have, both as Lesbian Resistance and as WDI Australia New Zealand Lesbian Caucus, adopted the Lesbian Bill of Rights, which was written by our sisters at the Lesbian Caucus of the WDI US. And it's an awesome set of principles, and I encourage you to have a look at it. It's on their website, but of course you can also find it on our website. That's it from me. I will be back at some stage to report on progress. And yeah, thanks very much.